So you want to see you. No. Okay. Erev Tov, Chodesh Tov. So we have discussed the Mishkan and the Bayis Rishon and the Bayis Sheni, and the tonight just a few words about the Bayis Shlishi. There's a Gemara in Rosh Hashanah. The Gemara in Rosh Hashanah that lists the takonos of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. So the major takona that we are interested in is the fact that we don't blow the shofar on Shabbat, except in Mokum Sanhedrin. Some say where there's a Bezdin Kavua, etc. But one of the takonos that the Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah mentions is that Yom Hanef Kulo Osur. The day, it's the second day of Pesach. So on Pesach, they brought the Korban Omer, the wheat, barley Korban. And that Korban, bringing the grain, was matir all of the wheat that now otherwise would have been chodosh, and the new wheat is not mutter to be eaten until the time of the korban. The korban was not brought at the crack of dawn. The korban was brought, first was a korban tomid, etc. It was not the first thing that was there. So in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, you couldn't eat chodosh right away in the morning because you didn't know when they brought the korban. Now, however, since there's no Beis Hamikdash, so it goes by the date. So then you should be able to eat the chodesh immediately in the morning because it's the day. We don't have to wait for the korban. And nevertheless, he made the takona that you don't do like that. So the Gemara asked, why not? So the Gemara says, Mocha Yibone Hamikdash. The Beis Hamikdash should be built tomorrow. They don't have time to explain it to everybody. So therefore, that's why we made this takona. What's pshat mocha yibone hamikdash? Tomorrow the Beis Hamikdash should be built. In other words, Erev Pesach, the Beis Hamikdash wasn't built yet. And immediately the Beis Hamikdash is going to be built. So because of that, Rashi, the Balei Tosfos, probably the majority Shita opinion amongst the Rishonim, is that the Beit HaMikdash HaShlishi is a miraculous building. It, so to speak, will descend from heaven fully built. So therefore, it could be Mocha Yibone Hamikdash. All of a sudden, the Beis Hamikdash will be here. And that therefore, this is one of the miracles that will happen with the restoration of the Jewish people to Yerushalayim and the building of the Mikdash. That's the opinion of Rashi. It's expressed in a number of places. There's an alternative opinion. Many say it's the opinion of the Rambam, though it's not explicit in the Rambam. But it is explicit in Rabbi Wein Mincha Maariv. The Meiri was one of the great Rishonim in Provence, northern Spain, in the early 14th century. And he wrote a commentary to the Talmud called the Beit HaBchira. And in it, he says that how could it be Mocher Yiboneh HaMikdash? He says not that it's going to descend miraculously all of a sudden. He says Chashinim Labetin Toim. We're afraid the Sanhedrin made a mistake. It should have been a leap year, and it wasn't. They didn't get the calendar right. And therefore, the day is not the day. And because of that, therefore, that's why they had to make the takana. So according to that opinion, the Beit Bayit Shlishi will be constructed by human hands. They'll have an architectural competition. And some Chinese architect will build it for us. So there's two variant opinions as to how the Bayit Shlishi will occur. There's a great difference lamaisa, and there's an undertone of that difference that exists now. Is there any obligation on our part to attempt to build the Bayit Shlishi? Now, there are a lot of factors that mitigate against our attempts. But let's say those factors can be overcome. Let's say our cousins would be willing to allow it, the world would let it happen. Should such an attempt be made? So according to the opinion of Rashi that I originally mentioned, it certainly should not. There's no necessity. It's going to descend from heaven. God in his good time will see to it that we'll have the Bayit Shlishi. According to the Meiri, that it will be built by human effort. So then if we have the opportunity to do it, we should certainly do it. And there's another issue involved here. The Novi Yechezkel discusses dimensions and structures of a Beit HaMikdash. Which Beit HaMikdash is he talking about? The Novi Yechezkel lived at the end of the Bayit Rishon. He went into the exile of Bovel 11 years before the Bayit Rishon was destroyed. And he was the Novi in Bovel before the restoration of the Jewish people there to Israel. And therefore, is he talking about the Bayit Sheni? And because there are many things that are on the surface at odds with what the Bayit Rishon was and the dimensions. So if he's talking about the Bayit Sheni, we don't find that in the Bayit Sheni those dimensions were present. The Gemara doesn't mention that. So there are many that say that the Navi Yecheskel is already speaking about the Bayit Shlishi, and that the dimensions and the construction of Bayit Shlishi is included in his Nevuah, so to speak. He skips over the Bayit Sheni to go to the Bayit Shlishi, to the eternal Bayit. So we have to somehow deal with that issue as well. Which Bayit are we talking about, and what are the correct dimensions for it? And therefore, there's a great deal of confusion regarding the issue. In Hilchos Malachim, the Rambam discusses the Melech HaMashiach and what he will do. There are different texts in the Rambam. Some say that the text that we have is not the real one. But the Rambam puts the emphasis at the Melech HaMashiach on Kibbutz Goliath and the return of the Jewish people to Eretz Israel, and of the ability to defeat the enemies of the Jewish people, and that the world will come to recognize the validity of Judaism and to unite in the service of God and of man. Does he mention the building of the Beit HaMikdash, of the Bayit Shlishi? That depends on the texts. And that always was, so to speak, a touchy subject. How will we deal with it? So again, if it will be miraculous, then there will be no need for us to collect money for it. There won't be any dedications. If, however, it is incumbent upon us to do it, then you can imagine that there will be there'll be crowdfunding and all sorts of other drives, and people will compete and vie to have the plaques on the wall, because that's the nature of human beings. I don't say that sarcastically. We have pictures, for instance, of the Kotel Ma'aravi 150, 200 years ago. And on the stones is a man has his name, for in memory of this and so, or in honor of the, so they had plaques on the walls of the Kotel Ma'aravi. So all of this is shrouded in the mystery of what will be. So since there certainly is no unanimity on the matter, so all of this is left as a problematic thing as to how and when and through what means the Bayit Shlishi will emerge. What its real dimensions will be. Because relatively speaking, as I mentioned over the week, the first Beis HaMikdash was relatively small compared to Herod's Beis HaMikdash. Herod built an entire new platform, made the Azorah 3 or 4 times the size of what it originally was. What about the third Beis HaMikdash? There'll be a lot of Jews. It'll be a big world. How big a building will you build? So all of that is left. It's not explicit for us, but that's part of the belief system of the Jewish people, that the third Beis Hamikdash is a reality. Mocher Yiboneh Hamikdash, one way or another. We should be zoche somehow to see its realization speedily and in our time. Rabbi Chananya ben Akashia Merotza HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'zakas Yisrael v'yichal chiv alehem Torah mitzvos shenem Adonai chavei tzman tzidko